Welcome to another episode of Technology and Intent. Today I have Cassie Phillips with me. Cassie, I don't even know how we met, but you and I are a lot alike. We're super connected. We are always at events. Well, now you have a job, but before. So we'd always bump into each other, and I'm like, Cassie's always connected, and she's working on different things, and I just always liked your vibe and your attitude. But
Thank you.
And then obviously FailCon is this amazing event, so I want to talk about that a little bit. But tell us a little bit, who's Cassie? I know now you have a full-time job. Tell us what you do. What's your day job? And then tell us what it is that how FailCon came about, and just a little bit.
Sure.
Every day. What does Cassie do every day?
Yeah, so I'm a constant learner. I'm a constant explorer. So really I think that I'm learning more, that my life is defined by the things that I can learn, the people I can meet throughout it. Which is relevant to this idea of how you knew me from FailCon and maybe even before that.
Yeah.
And now I have this full-time job, and for me all of those things have just been, what new thing do I want to learn about? Mm-hmm. So it's meant a wide range of career paths, a wide range of things I've tried, and it's meant, for me personally, a lot of feelings of failure and a lot of dealing with how failure feels in my life and to the people around me. It comes from this idea that every time I've started something new, I've had to fail at it. I've had to make mistakes. I've had to be the person who wasn't very good at it while I was working towards it. And there aren't a lot of support groups for that, for people who are older. Kind of in college, it's like, yeah, you're going to fail, you're going to feel great, it's fine. But suddenly you're like 30 and people are like, wait, you're at the bottom of the food chain?
Failures Anonymous?
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
this
totally.
idea of what happens when I'm trying to do something new with my life, and I look around and everyone I'm doing something new with is 21, 22, and now I'm 30, and eventually 35, 40.
You're not 40, are you?
I'm not 40.
Okay, I was going to
eventually.
say. Come on.
Baby steps.
Come on.
We'll get there. So that's kind of where a piece of where FailCon came from. At the time it was made, it was while I was working in startups, and I was doing a lot of work with founders. I was founding my own company, in fact. And looking at my company, I realized every time I interacted with an investor or a friend, I'd have to talk like everything was perfect. I had to say, how are things? Oh, they're great.
Fluff.
They're fabulous. We just had a great investor meeting. There's a lot of really, really promising information being shared. When really what's happening is like, we have no users. Everyone seems to hate the website. Investors say it's nice. And we have maybe 6 months of runway left. But I'm just lying. I'm lying to everybody.
Do you fake it till you make it? Is that really the theme in Silicon Valley?
Yes.
It is,
I think that's the theme in more places than just Silicon Valley.
But especially this, you have to hype it up and you have to get the investors excited, and it is a lot of fluff, you know. And so I've become a little jaded, I think, because part of that fluff is just this making everything sound pretty and perfect for your board and for your investors, and that's lame. I mean, that's not what this is about. And, and that's why I always liked about your concept of FailCon, because I actually, the failures are what's fun and exciting, and when you fall on your nose and you get up and you try to learn and become better, I think that's the fun part about this, So tell us a little bit what you're doing now. You're a product.
I am kind of a product person. Yeah, right now I'm doing game design. So right now I work with a mobile gaming company called Pocket Gems, and I work on improving kind of the narrative that goes into their game and the experiences that you have kind of entering into the game, and who you meet in the game and what you're faced with and how those challenges are presented. And from that I'm moving more into also feature design, working on how do you design a feature, how do you present it to the users, how is it incorporated with the other features in the game. In the long run, I'll probably move back into startups eventually, but I felt that with events, I was very disconnected from the users who actually were putting their hands on these startup products.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of founders actually struggle with that, where I'm talking to investors and fellow founders. That's the only people I talk to. And then maybe I do some user testing with people around Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not your user most of the time. Your user is a mom in Indiana. It's a kid in Georgia. It's a teen in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And we have no understanding of who those people are. And so working at a mobile game company, we have millions of users. Probably many, I don't even know how many we have. And they all have different needs. They're all sending us different feedback. And so really learning what those people want and how to communicate to them is very different than the products I see being made by some Silicon Valley founders, which I can tell are so clearly designed for me, a founder, not my mom, who might be your paying user.
Or the investor.
Or the investor.
And that's the thing that bothers me a little bit. It seems like almost you have an idea, you build a product to raise money, and then to build a product for your customers, or really based on what your audience wants, or your followers want. But so you're doing that, but FailCon is continue?
FailCon is still happening.
So you have a team that's managing that?
We do. We're actually 4 here in San Francisco, and then we did 5 events last year, 5 different cities, and this year we're looking at 13. So it's grown quite internationally.
Can we somehow facilitate one in the Middle East?
I would love to do one in the Middle East.
Maybe Beirut or Egypt or Dubai, whatever. Yeah. But that would be awesome.
It would be amazing to bring one there.
We're partnering with ArabNet, which is the TechCrunch or Mashable of the region, and they do some events and they do some hackathons, but I think to bring in this perspective that you have here, and obviously the great relationships with the founders and the speakers would be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be an exciting place to host it too.
Yeah, I've gone 7 times now, and I've met some incredible people, and I actually am pretty positive and hopeful that there's a huge opportunity, especially around gaming, for example. In Saudi Arabia, I think it's the highest growth market on the planet for games, and
it's a market that seems to be just taking off and doesn't have enough kind of tools to help it grow along the way. And I think incorporating failure into conversations early, especially in cultures that might struggle with it. Like I'm thrilled we're talking to Japan as well, and they've got a huge culture that doesn't like to discuss failure with the whole honor system. And I think it's an important conversation to bring in.
Yeah, I think if you're a kid coming from a multi-billion-dollar family and you have money to build a company, but again, part of that experience of making mistakes and pivoting and failing is what really makes you better, and you're just hiring consultants. And so the whole mentality, the attitude around building a company there needs to be improved, and it needs to be this knowledge from your experiences and people's experience here needs to be shared, and that's the idea of the show. So the theme around the show is lessons through stories. And I want, we have our board, our famous board, and I don't know if you took a look at it. So what we have left is the top ramen diet, holy guacamole, reverse engineering, artificial deadlines, chief janitor, symbiotic relationships, that's missing a 0, what's 0.5% amongst friends, sweet, we have a deal, who do you think you are, Facebook, a pre-money valuation of $8 million, are you nuts, the first firing, your first board meeting, another pivot, and the moment you knew you were onto something. So which one of these do you want to tell a story about?
I'm going to tell a story about another pivot. I will comment that these are great, such great prompts, because I feel like I've heard a story from a founder for every single one of those. Like if this prompt was tell a story you've heard, every one of those.
That's basically what it was. Like for me, the aha moment was, I know a little bit about all of these, and I've heard tons of stories, and we're almost spoiled because we learn through other people's experiences. Right. But now this idea, by the way, we're translating this all into Arabic, is to really empower and let people learn from our experiences. So another pivot, I have to confess, this show is the 4th pivot of PITME. So PITME originally was a venture fund, then an incubator, then an accelerator, and then finally I realized, I want to build this platform to share this content, this knowledge, and these experiences. So tell me about another pivot.
Okay, so my another pivot story isn't actually a specific pivot. It starts back when I was maybe 3. And I feel like the word pivot, when I learned what it was, which was not when I was 3, defines my life to the frustration of, I think, most of my family. They've actually gotten better at it. I think the best stories actually come from my senior year of high school. Growing up, I changed interests probably once a year, and drastic passions. And this is actually where my fear of failure came from, too. I changed passions because I found that failure hits you hardest about a year into whatever you're doing. It's actually not right when you start, and you're like, oh, this sucks, it's really, really great. I'm taking off, I'm learning really, really fast. It's a year in when suddenly you're like, I'm not learning so fast anymore, and now I'm actually making a lot of mistakes that I recognize as mistakes, and no one's forgiving me because I've been doing it for a year. And so for me, my deep fear of failure meant I changed passions every single year. So I tried. It did take me about 10 years to learn to ride a bicycle because I was so afraid of falling. So that funny symbolism there was completely literal to my life. For about a year, I wanted to be a professional ice skater, and I went to ice skating lessons every single night, stopped, For about a year, I did art classes, I did ballet, I did tap dancing. I went from that into knitting, I went from that into sewing, horseback riding, and then finally my senior year, I actually graduated high school early, so I could do a senior year project at a university on reptiles, and halfway through that decided I wanted to do filmmaking instead, and ended up pretty much failing this year of my life that I had such great opportunities to work with these university professors when I'm 17 years old. And my parents, finally they take me aside and they were like, what are you doing with your life? And they suddenly realized that they were certain they should have been those parents that said, you will be a doctor.
Oh, God.
Done. Done. There's no conversation. Doctor. And they had tried, and it's this idea of the two extremes are bad. Yeah. They had tried to been those supporting liberal, super liberal parents to say, like, whatever you want to do, whatever you want. You want to give that up? That's okay. That's okay. And it's instilled in me this value of the minute you stop liking something, just stop doing it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so I will always remember this conversation with them when I have this amazing opportunity and I lose it all because I go from a university professor studying reptiles to film design halfway through and I don't learn anything from any of them. I've gotten a little better. I'm on to 5-year curves.
Wow,
so
5 years. That's
I've gone from
impressive.
1 year to 5 years. It still amazes people because I did theater management for 5 years, event management for 5 years, and I'm now wrapping up my first year of game design. Where all these came from. Yeah.
We should start a football pool to see what the next one is.
The next one is.
Yeah, that would be
bets
funny.
On it.
That's super cool. So, Cassie, like, I know multitasker, multi-connected, multi-talented. Like, I mean, that's really what summarizes you. I don't know if you know, but we're doing an Indiegogo campaign to fund 10 companies to come here.
Oh, cool.
And part of that effort is not just give them money and invest, but we want to get them here, get them connected, and so we have something called the PITME Council, and these are you, me, people that are connected, and all we ask for is a commitment of maybe 1 hour of mentorship for one of those companies. So I think it'd be super awesome to get your feedback, especially if it's like a gaming company or someone that has to do with anything that you have expertise in. So if we can get you to commit to that, that would be awesome. It's probably going to fall, so we have some time.
Yeah.
Also,
especially if they're debating whether they should pivot or not.
That
would be a great,
exactly.
Conversation on why not to pivot, because it will make you never good at anything.
We have a PITME T-shirt for you.
Yay.
I'm not sure if it's the right size.
I'm sure
we have other ones. And looking forward. When is the next FailCon?
One coming up in India in about a week.
Wow.
We have ones in development in Australia, Brazil, France, London, Ireland, Tokyo, Singapore.
That's awesome.
Brazil.
Awesome.
Yeah, and maybe the Middle East.
Yes, we will make that happen. So that should be our goal. By the time, maybe by the end of this year, we could set one up, because I think we already have relationships there and people who'd really be interested in experiencing a FailCon.
I think it'd be really exciting.
That'd be super cool. So. Cassie, thanks a lot for making time.
Of course.
Appreciate it. Another episode comes to the end. Again, Cassie Phillips from FailCon, and we'll see you next time. Peace.